Thank you for listening. This course was created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional podcasts, books, newsletters, and cool merchandise await. Let's get started. Internal policies provide the concrete boundaries that transform broad commitments into daily practice. Without them, employees and partners may face uncertainty about what is acceptable, leaving decisions to individual interpretation. Policies define where the lines are drawn, clarifying not only what should be done, but also what must not be done. Guardrails work hand in hand with policies, providing structured limits that keep development and deployment on a safe path. Together, these instruments reduce risk by removing ambiguity and reinforcing accountability. They also signal to regulators, customers, and employees that an organization's values are more than abstract statements. They are enforced standards. Policies create stability in fast-moving environments, ensuring that principles of fairness, transparency, and responsibility guide behavior even under pressure. The scope of these internal policies must be broad enough to cover the entire AI lifecycle. From data collection through to deployment and eventual retirement, policies articulate the expectations for every stage. They also extend beyond in-house development to include third-party tools, vendors, and partners, ensuring consistent standards across supply chains. Importantly, policies must address both technical and non-technical staff, since responsibility is not limited to data scientists or engineers. Managers, product owners, legal teams, and marketing staff all interact with AI systems in ways that shape outcomes. Policies also integrate with organizational mission, reflecting the unique values and commitments of each organization. Scope is not just about coverage. It is about ensuring coherence between the rules of AI use and the broader vision of the institution. Guardrails make these policies actionable by embedding them into practice. They often include explicit prohibitions, such as bans on surveillance applications or discriminatory targeting. They set approval thresholds, requiring higher-level sign-off before high-risk systems are released. Technical safeguards, such as automated bias checks or content filters, are built directly into models to enforce compliance by design. Human oversight checkpoints provide additional layers, ensuring that decisions with significant impact cannot be made by machines alone. These guardrails work much like the rails on a mountain road. They do not determine your exact path, but they prevent dangerous deviations. In this way, guardrails protect both organizations and communities, channeling innovation within safe boundaries. Developing effective policies and guardrails requires a collaborative process. Drafting should be cross-functional, involving not only engineers but also legal experts, risk managers, ethicists, and operational leaders. Consultation with affected communities adds legitimacy, bringing in perspectives that may otherwise be overlooked. Leadership endorsement is essential, providing authority and signaling that policies carry weight beyond departmental discretion. Without leadership backing, policies risk being ignored or under-enforced. A structured development process also ensures that policies are not imposed in isolation but reflect the diverse expertise and values of the organization. This inclusiveness makes policies both stronger and more credible, increasing the likelihood that they will be followed in practice. Communication is the next critical step. Policies only work if employees understand them, which means they must be accessible and clear. Publishing them in internal knowledge bases ensures visibility, but accessibility also requires plain language. Legalistic or overly technical wording risks alienating the very people policies are meant to guide. Training programs help translate policies into practice, equipping employees with both awareness and confidence. Regular reminders through updates, briefings, or embedded prompts in workflows reinforce knowledge and prevent drift over time. Effective communication transforms policies from static documents into living guides, woven into daily routines rather than confined to forgotten repositories. Consider the example of a technology company that implements strict internal policies around generative AI. To avoid reputational and ethical risks, the company restricts the use of these tools in sensitive domains, such as healthcare or law enforcement. Guardrails are established to regulate employee experimentation, ensuring that pilot projects remain within safe boundaries. An independent ethics review board provides oversight, reviewing high-risk proposals and advising leadership. Regular audits verify compliance, with results reported to stakeholders. This example shows how policies, guardrails, and oversight structures can combine to create responsible space for innovation. By balancing freedom to experiment with clear restrictions, organizations protect both themselves and the public. In the financial sector, internal policies play an especially critical role. Institutions deploying AI for credit scoring, fraud detection, or investment strategies must follow strict transparency requirements to satisfy regulators and protect consumers. Policies may mandate bias testing before any system goes live, ensuring that lending decisions do not disadvantage minority groups. Documentation requirements are often rigorous, with teams obliged to maintain detailed records for regulatory review. Escalation paths are clearly defined, allowing disputes over fairness or accuracy to reach senior decision-makers quickly. These policies not only mitigate legal risk but also reinforce consumer trust, showing that financial institutions are willing to submit their systems to scrutiny. The combination of internal guardrails and external oversight illustrates how governance and compliance reinforce one another. Government agencies provide another instructive case. Here, guardrails are often designed to regulate high-stakes applications such as law enforcement tools. Internal policies may prohibit certain surveillance technologies or require court or legislative approval before systems are deployed. Accountability assignments are explicit, with officers or departments formally responsible for compliance. Transparency reporting to the public adds an additional safeguard, ensuring that citizens understand how AI is being used in their communities. Independent oversight bodies, such as inspector generals or citizen review boards, provide checks on internal practices. These measures demonstrate how internal guardrails, when paired with external accountability, create legitimacy in areas where public trust is fragile. Government examples remind us that responsibility must be both internalized and outward-facing. Yet even the strongest policies face adoption challenges. Employees may resist restrictions, particularly if they feel that rules slow down their work or limit creativity. Ambiguity in definitions, such as what counts as high risk, can create confusion, leading to inconsistent application. Resource limitations pose another barrier. Audits, training, and enforcement all require staff and funding. Finally, policies risk becoming outdated as technology evolves, leaving organizations governed by rules that no longer fit emerging realities. Addressing these challenges requires flexibility, communication, and sustained leadership support. For practitioners, the key is recognizing that policy adoption is not a one-time announcement, but an ongoing process of adjustment and reinforcement. Enforcement mechanisms are essential to ensure that policies are more than aspirational statements. Regular audits and monitoring create visibility into whether rules are followed. Disciplinary measures provide consequences for violations, reinforcing accountability. Automated controls can embed guardrails directly into workflows, such as requiring bias checks before deployment pipelines proceed. Escalation pathways connect frontline enforcement with leadership, ensuring that unresolved issues receive timely attention. These mechanisms make responsibility tangible, demonstrating that policies are enforced consistently rather than selectively. Enforcement may feel burdensome, but without it, internal policies risk being reduced to window dressing, eroding both credibility and effectiveness. The benefits of clear, well-communicated policies far outweigh their challenges. By defining acceptable and prohibited uses, organizations reduce the risk of accidental misuse. Employees gain confidence, knowing they have guidance for difficult decisions rather than navigating uncertainty alone. Externally, stakeholders gain trust when they see evidence that systems are governed by robust guardrails. Policies also prepare organizations for external audits, smoothing interactions with regulators and avoiding last-minute scrambles to demonstrate compliance. In short, clear policies create stability, trust, and resilience. They transform responsibility from a vague aspiration into a predictable, enforceable practice that supports both innovation and accountability. Global variability complicates internal policy design. Cultural differences influence what is considered acceptable or ethical. Regional variations in law shape policy emphasis, such as stricter privacy protections in Europe versus stronger innovation incentives in Asia-Pacific. Local regulatory requirements must be integrated into global policies without creating confusion for employees. Organizations therefore need adaptable guardrails policies flexible enough to adjust across jurisdictions while still maintaining a consistent core. For practitioners, this highlights the importance of cultural sensitivity and multinational coordination. Policies cannot be written in isolation. They must reflect the global contexts in which organizations operate. Without this adaptability, internal rules risk becoming either irrelevant or unenforceable across diverse environments. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Policies must be treated as living documents rather than static rulebooks. Regular reviews are necessary to ensure that guidance keeps pace with technological advances and shifting regulations. Incidents should trigger updates, so lessons learned translate directly into stronger safeguards. New laws and regulatory expectations must be incorporated promptly, avoiding gaps between internal practice and external obligation. Continuous engagement with stakeholders, both internal and external, provides fresh perspectives and ensures legitimacy. Version control systems make updates transparent, preventing confusion about which rules are in force. Communicating changes clearly to employees reinforces compliance and reduces the risk of outdated practices lingering. By treating policies as dynamic, organizations maintain their relevance and credibility over time, ensuring that guardrails adapt as quickly as the technologies they govern. Alignment with external standards strengthens the authority and credibility of internal policies. Benchmarking against global references such as ISO standards or OECD guidance ensures that organizations are not isolated in their approach. Industry associations provide additional insight, offering emerging best practices and lessons learned across sectors. Regulator expectations are also a key input, since internal policies that align with external oversight reduce friction and increase trust. Incorporating these external touchpoints prevents insularity, ensuring that policies remain both credible and interoperable. For practitioners, alignment demonstrates that internal governance is not arbitrary, but part of a broader, recognized ecosystem of responsibility. This connection reinforces legitimacy in the eyes of regulators, partners, and the public. Embedding policies directly into workflows ensures they are applied consistently. Integrating checks into development pipelines means that compliance steps cannot be skipped without detection. Automated validation steps, for example, confirming that datasets meet documentation standards, reduce reliance on human memory or goodwill. Linking policies to project management tools ensures that governance milestones are tracked alongside technical progress. Streamlining guardrails for developer usability prevents resistance by making compliance as seamless as possible. When policies are embedded rather than external, they become part of the natural rhythm of work. This approach moves responsibility from being an add-on to being an integrated element of daily practice, enhancing both consistency and effectiveness. Training and awareness programs support the human side of policy enforcement. Onboarding sessions for new employees introduce key policies early, embedding responsibility into organizational culture from the start. Regular refreshers ensure that policies remain top of mind, particularly in fast-moving areas where risks evolve. Case-based learning helps contextualize rules, showing how policies apply in real-world situations. Simulations of risk scenarios allow employees to practice decision-making under pressure, reinforcing both understanding and confidence. Training transforms policies from written documents into lived practices, ensuring that employees at all levels know not only what the rules are but why they matter. This knowledge strengthens compliance and builds a shared culture of responsibility. Measuring policy effectiveness provides organizations with evidence that guardrails are functioning as intended. Metrics may include the number of compliance incidents, the level of employee awareness measured through surveys, or the resolution times for violations. These indicators can be linked to organizational goals, such as reducing reputational risk or meeting audit readiness benchmarks. Tracking metrics creates accountability, showing whether policies are working or require adjustment. It also supports continuous improvement as organizations refine guardrails based on measurable outcomes. For practitioners, these metrics provide a feedback loop, ensuring that governance remains evidence-based rather than assumption-driven. Measurement transforms policies from aspirational to operational, linking them to tangible results. Policies must also anticipate the need for exceptions. Situations may arise where deviations are justified, whether due to unique project requirements or unforeseen circumstances. Defining clear processes for requesting exceptions prevents ad hoc decisions that undermine credibility. Documentation of the rationale provides transparency and enables review. Oversight approval requirements ensure that exceptions are not granted lightly but are evaluated by appropriate authorities. Regular reviews of exception logs provide insight into whether policies are realistic or overly restrictive. By formalizing exceptions, organizations maintain both flexibility and accountability. This balance acknowledges that no policy can anticipate every scenario, but responsibility must remain intact even when rules bend. Leadership plays a pivotal role in ensuring internal AI policies are more than symbolic statements. Executives must model adherence, visibly following the same guardrails they expect employees to respect. Their support also extends to providing resources for enforcement, from staffing compliance teams to funding audits and training programs. Publicly reinforcing commitments, whether through company-wide communications or external reporting, signals that responsibility is embedded at the highest levels. Equally important is creating a culture where employees feel safe to report issues without fear of retaliation. By encouraging open dialogue, leaders transform responsibility into a shared value rather than a top-down imposition. Leadership, therefore, sets both the tone and the infrastructure for sustaining guardrails, ensuring they are respected throughout the organization. Employee engagement is equally vital for making policies effective. When staff are invited to contribute to the shaping of policies, they are more likely to feel ownership and responsibility. Soliciting feedback on the usability of guardrails ensures that rules are realistic rather than burdensome. Recognizing contributions, whether identifying gaps or proposing improvements, reinforces positive behavior. Creating communities of practice around responsible AI helps normalize discussion, turning policies into part of everyday dialogue rather than distant directives. Engagement is not just about compliance, it is about empowerment, encouraging employees to view themselves as stewards of responsibility. By involving staff at every level, organizations transform policy adherence into a participatory culture. Long-term sustainability requires that policies be institutionalized, not dependent on a handful of champions. Formal review cycles ensure that documents remain up to date, adapting to new risks, laws, and technologies. Structures must be resilient to staff turnover, so institutional memory survives transitions. Adaptability is essential. Policies must evolve with AI itself, addressing risks that may not have been visible when they were first written. Sustaining alignment with organizational mission prevents drift, ensuring that policies remain relevant and authentic. Long-term sustainability shifts the focus from one-time compliance to enduring governance. For practitioners, this means recognizing that policies are living instruments, requiring continual care and adaptation to remain credible. From these discussions, several practical takeaways emerge. First, policies and guardrails operationalize values, transforming them into enforceable, everyday practices. Second, while challenges exist ranging from resistance to resource constraints, clarity consistently yields trust and stability. Third, case examples across technology, finance, and government show that well-designed policies are both feasible and valuable in diverse contexts. Finally, sustaining relevance requires treating policies as living documents, subject to regular review, improvement, and cultural reinforcement. These takeaways remind us that responsibility is not sustained by principles alone, but by structured rules and consistent practices that guide real decisions. As this episode concludes, let us recap the main themes. We began by defining the purpose and scope of internal policies, explored how guardrails are applied in practice, and examined development, communication, and enforcement. Case examples demonstrated their value across industries, while discussions of challenges and variability highlighted the need for adaptability. We also emphasized the importance of leadership, employee engagement, and sustainability in ensuring that policies endure. The overarching message is that internal policies and guardrails are the connective tissue between principles and practice. They ensure that responsibility is not only articulated but embedded in the day-to-day fabric of organizational life. Looking ahead, the series will move from internal governance to the topic of data governance. While policies define rules for acceptable AI use, data governance addresses the lifeblood of AI systems, the information that powers them. Understanding how data is collected, stored, protected, and managed is essential for ensuring both technical quality and ethical responsibility. In the next episode, we will explore how data governance structures intersect with privacy, fairness, and accountability, shaping the foundation on which all responsible AI practices depend. Thanks for tuning in to Bare Metal Cyber, your trusted source for cybersecurity educational materials, news, and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.